I'll call the meeting to order, and please rise for the pledge. We can say practice ourselves. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I transplanted the kale today and some broccoli.
No, I gotta pick some up. When do you think we can plant that stuff?
All right, first thing on the,
Pretty soon.
excuse me, on the agenda is the minutes from last night's meeting. Paul was good in getting them here. I'm not sure if Liz is gonna be here. Paul sent me an email, he can't make it till 7 on Thursdays.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for April 25th, 2018.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. I'll give everybody time to.
I had one comment at the bottom of the first page under Article
Troublemaker.
25.
Troublemaker.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. The sentence was, if transferred into stabilization fund, the money would require 2 votes, one for the override and one to transfer the money. If you put the free cash into stabilization, if there were an article on this warrant, you would only need the article on town meeting to get the money out, but it would take a 2/3 vote. You don't have to do another override.
Right.
Explain that so we can fix it. Is it
It-
kind of
it's-
confusing if you
Just
don't?
a comment about one unit for the override, could we just strike that?
Well, it would really only require 1 vote, not 2.
Right. Require 1 vote and then cross out the one for the override and then the
Yeah, we
transfer of
don't
money.
need the over, it,
Right.
That's confusing if you don't understand
Okay.
it
well,
100%.
yeah, it's kind of missing what I said. If it was transferred into the stabilization fund, that would require a 2/3 vote to put it in, and then to use it in the fall
Would take
would require another vote.
Right.
And by leaving it, let it float, then they have easier access, and it's just the vote to use it at
Yep.
town, for the
Majority, right.
appropriation at town meeting is what I,
Yeah,
Right, that's,
Um,
and I said, assuming that it's recertified, that there were no problems with certifying free
So-
cash.
this needs to be changed.
When I spoke about the Article 32, the chief did not say it would be 4 years. He said it would be off the books before the school came on. That needs to be changed also.
yeah.
It would be off the books in 4 years?
It'd be off according to what they're saying is,
Yeah.
it will be off before the school comes on. That could be within 4 years, I presume that. It's not necessarily 4 years.
Yeah, because they may, down the road, go and change something, you don't know.
It could be, it could be 4 years, but it could be shorter too, depending on,
So, the quote in the newspaper was,
the quote basically said it would be off, the debt exclusion for the police station would be off before the school came in. If you want me to take and read that article, I still have it.
Hey,
you have it with you? Yes, if you could.
flip out. About time.
And this is what happens when you try to do a verbatim minutes instead of,
Summary,
just a, yeah, general summary. Especially now that you have the, you have recordings, you know, everywhere. No, I mean.
And this is what was in the paper.
It's just a summary.
The station, the
Thanks.
chief said, would come off of the tax rate as the school is added to the tax rate.
Okay.
Well, then that's not etched in
Come
concrete
off the
either.
tax rate
It's new.
well, they're talking about the quote.
Yeah.
prior
Yeah.
to the school rate coming, to the school coming on,
Yeah,
right?
that's what he said.
Oh, your bag is over there. At home.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So it will, should be off, cross out the books, and off the tax rate prior to the school coming on.
Right.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, boy. I'm tired.
And 25.
26.
Change to.
I wonder how I put it. I'd lose my head if it wasn't screwed on, I swear to God. Huh?
What are you looking for?
The, warrant.
Okay.
Oh, see it somewhere.
And 25,
I'm such
okay.
an organized
transfer it
person.
into stabilization fund.
Hey there, kiddo.
Oh, we're a full board.
Yay.
Welcome aboard.
Hmm.
Oh, no, we're a full committee. Sorry.
Yeah. A committee, the next day,
I just got into.
Could you pass these down? We're doing the minutes for last night's meeting.
Here's the,
Okay. Any other items?
should've seen the look I got when I left tonight. The girl was tied outside.
It's right at the end here.
Is everybody all set with the minutes?
Yeah.
What's the date on it? Last one we got.
Do you need, we can end up having a substitute motion to make it, those changes, Jeff?
Okay, maybe it's in there. Maybe I stuck it in there. I bet. Looked so heavy I left it in the car last week. I'll lug it in the house. You know what? Look at the time. Oof, I'm hot.
You want to amend your motion to accept the minutes with?
As amended.
amended? Yeah.
I will amend my motion to accept the minutes from April 25th as amended.
So,
And you're gonna get
Bev,
the,
I'll send that to Paul.
he'll send the amendments to you.
It'll be easier than
Try and explain.
Try-
explain it
yeah.
here. Bev, you second the amended motion?
Yes, I second it.
Okay. All right, on the motion to accept the minutes from last night's meeting, Liz,
I abstain.
Paul,
Yes.
Bev,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Will,
Yes.
Bob,
Abstain.
and I vote yes. At 18:48. I'm done writing that junk down.
Are we gonna do the minutes from the 18th or no?
No, they're,
Okay.
I have them on for the
The
next meeting, because this just
okay.
has minutes from last
Gotcha,
meeting.
okay.
I've been discombobulated with whatever I got.
Not a problem.
I got it from Bear. Actually, I think I got it from Luann at candidates night, but,
Oh, nice.
well, because she was sick.
Is it the Browns?
She was, yeah, she was coming down with,
Yeah, she,
sure,
yeah,
whatever. it-
she sounded like she was losing her voice and
Hmm.
all that good stuff.
These chairs are so big.
But they are what they are.
It's all right with everybody. I'd just like to kind of run down through the warrant. And
Yep.
we can at least look at the articles, to see the ones that we'll have, if there's any simple ones in there where we can just kind of get general agreement on
Yeah, I
and
have
see where
some,
we are.
I'd like to take and discuss a couple of them that I looked at.
And then ones that we know we're gonna have. I sent an email inviting the town administrator to next Wednesday.
Okay.
I didn't get an answer, but, that doesn't mean, I'll probably hear from him Tuesday. He did give me a verbal that he would come if invited, so we'll see. Just so we have an idea, we can just go down the warrant and look at the articles and get an idea where we are and what we think we're gonna, if there's some of the articles that like last night, we had lengthy discussion on a few of them. It'll be a thing to do homework with, before Wednesdays. And I realize it might involve jumping back and looking into budget here and there, but.
We're gonna start in chronological order.
I don't know about that, but we'll start with Article 1.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Jesus, don't get fancy.
See, that was just one of the ones I wanted to take and have a little discussion on.
Fancy with me using big words, I get confused and stuff.
All right.
Yes, we will do it that way.
Thank you.
Before we start, Mr. Chairman, if I
Where'd you
can,
get the colored one?
I'd like to take and thank you for allowing me to end up presenting some data at yesterday's
Oh,
meeting
yeah.
on a
Hey,
couple
that
of the
fills up time
articles.
and space, saves me from talking.
Yeah.
No, those are the kind of things that we really need to do.
Yep.
And sometimes it's kind of hard to do when you get this for the first time and you're at, like, the joint meetings we had.
Yeah, are you
I
gonna
didn't
ask
see
a
it at
question
the
when
meeting,
you
and I
don't-
would see it when I got home or the next day. But, and this year they had them set in order, and they were kind of close together, and then the snow and the other meetings, everything got pushed around. Our meetings got bandied around and. Okay, so Article 1.
Yes, I have some questions about that.
One thing on the, where it says selectmen for litigation, the town administrator has said, I think he noted it at our meeting, but at a selectmen's meeting, I know there's a possibility for a reduction in that amount, and they probably won't know until town floor. And the snow and ice deficit, it says 65, but I believe it's at a 75, probably like 76,000, I have noted here. Which is, I believe, might end up in front of this committee for financial transfer from whatever to whatever. That's just a verbal from the town administrator, it's, just as a thing to be aware of.
I believe he did
So-
mention that at the last meeting too.
Yes.
I believe he did mention that at the last meeting too.
When he was here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
We'll
start.
I would, thought that the litigation would have been coming out of the council, the town council budget that we already have. I mean, that is what basically, we have, money is in the town council budget. The other thing is, I totally understand the ice and snow. I mean, that one, I would expect them to take it, end up, no matter what the amount was. The other thing is I see, the other two is development and services. For signage, $750. And the other one for tax bill template. That indicates to me that they should have known that these things were coming along way before this. And that should have been in their budgets to begin with.
I think
Yeah.
the signage was in the developmental services budget, and it was removed by the town.
It was removed?
I think.
I think
I'll
they
have to
were,
double
they
check it.
they bounced it out, trying to do the school thing.
Wouldn't the right to farm signage be under the agricultural committee?
Well,
That's where it was.
they're asking for the
Oh,
for the money, because they don't have the
Okay.
budget.
But the tax collector, treasurer collector, they mentioned that they are going to only send bills twice a year. I don't think they asked the people what they wanted them to do. It just kinda like, oh yeah, we'll do it twice a year. But that, for some people, it's gonna be more difficult. It's a lot of money to come up
I
with.
think they send the bills, but I believe there was talk about you would still be able to like break it up. I mean, you still have to come up with the same amount of money.
I know,
you
but,
know, just-
but it sounded like that's why maybe that's why they were looking for it, but $7,000, it's a lot of money.
What was I doing?
You know, I don't think they got much input from the people that live in that town.
Development Service 113.
I think there was also something about the service that we use wasn't charging. I don't know if it was this one or not, but the service wasn't charging us for something. And now we're going to get charged for it, I think.
Let me see if that was in here.
It's on page 123.
Was it?
Yeah.
Hopefully that's- God help me. Don't even go
But the
under
request was for $320, not $750.
added a little bit.
Looking at the treasurer collector, I don't see that template in that budget.
But see, it was knocked out by the administrator,
But I'm looking at the whole budget here.
and then,
Why'd they double it?
Well, because what, it looks like the lump sum
was that
disallowed
one
was
of those meetings?
$432.
Right.
And so the 432 plus the 320 gets you close to the 750.
but not all the lump sum disallowed was the signs.
Well, it wasn't the signs at all for the lump sum, the way Carter does it. is-
Yeah, you see the notation there, it
Right.
says assumes the supplemental
Yeah.
18 with free cash or other source
Well, I have a question.
to buy the two signs.
Mr. Chairman, if you look at the budget for development services, agricultural purchase signage, they only requested 320, and now we have 750.
So I think the 750 is going for more than just the signs.
Well, I looked at that too, and that's, there was a
No
small,
backup for the 750.
there was a small amount for,
So it's here's my assumption, and it's an assumption, is that that it's for the 750 is the $320 for the Ag Commission purchase of signs, along with 430 of the 432 lump sum removal. It is,
Right, doing the math, that
doing the
makes
math,
sense.
that's.
Right, that comes up to 750, but the backup material within the budget, which is what we're supposed to be looking at,
Doesn't
okay, it doesn't support an expense of $750.
And,
It
and
supports an expense of $320.
I might,
That's what's backed up.
I might be crazy here, but for some reason, I believe that the balance of that might be for posts,
Or
The signs.
for the signs from the DPW department, because there was.
You can buy it for $250
Well,
down
no,
at
no,
Ag
because I was gonna say,
Hold on.
there was something to do with that agricultural signage that had,
yes, it's $1,336.
okay,
So that's a total of $1,656.
Okay.
And that was to to pay the highway department. I didn't think there was monies that you end up doing between departments like that.
And the $320 would be 8 signs, according to
According to our backup
the
material.
estimate from Lyman Signs.
Yeah, but the posts are actually zeroed out in the administrative budget. And the request was for $1336.
Right.
So nowhere do we come up with $750.
We're off to a good start.
Well, according to this, the current, for the highway department, it was for 8 signs at $167 a sign.
yeah, which is your 1336, which is.
That's $1336, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, but there is no appropriation for the posts. There's only an appropriation for the signs.
Let's see,
Right. That's zeroed out.
let's look under 130 Highway. Personnel, employees, purchase of services. So there is nothing. Highway supplies, let's see, paint. Nothing under supplies. Let's see, no, this is the old. In the paper copy, I don't see. Highway police details, 3150. Excuse me, expense budget. See if it's under building and grounds. So waste, electricity.
The more you do this whole thing, the easier it gets. because Town meeting warrants can be so tricky. It really is weird, and I think the selectmen should be on the advisory board.
I don't
Looks
see
like
it.
Building and grounds just has like fuel, electric, water, sewer. Scotty's Price.
Heat, water, sewer, electric lamps, electric, fire extinguishers.
Even on the paper copy you gave us for the changes to development services, still 320.
I was looking to see if they had the post or, because they have I have the updated page in my book and it's not listed.
Right, the request was 320, even on the new sheet with, that he turned down.
Well, he took it out of there because he moved it, it says, for a different, excuse me, a different source. So I wonder if instead of 8, they went for 16 signs, or it's the 8 signs and the poles.
Well, this backup on how they determined what the 167 would be, to put up the sign, not the sign itself. That's from Pam at the Highway Department.
What page is that in?
129?
That would mean about $40 a sign. The poles are more than the signs.
No, this is how they calculated it. It just occurred to me that I have this info that we use when we charge people that knock down street signs. So the sign, pole, and breakaway are $120.50, miscellaneous nuts and bolts, $4, labor, $42.39, for a total of $166.89. So that's how they came up with the 167 per pole, not sign, to put up these signs. But they have not funded the poles, that I can see,
But
to put up the signs. They
Yeah.
have funded the purchase of the signs.
And that number
And that's it.
includes a
Gotta
sign.
nail them onto
Yeah.
a tree.
See, it says sign, pole, and breakaway equals 120.50.
Okay.
And the labor is 42. So what is,
That's the number.
8 signs?
1336.
Unbelievable.
Times, what, 120.50? Or 124.50? That's $1,000.
Right. So maybe they're cutting down the number of signs, but there's no explanation of any of this.
So, you write that down as a question for the,
Remember last year when I threw a fit about
They're getting 8
Trees?
signs made.
Did you look that?
The only way I can come up with anything close to 750 is for 3 poles,
How come? They put it
And-
up bed?
the full 8 signs for 320.
Oh, you know. Single-sided signs, so 2 signs per pole would be your, what you just said. How
Yeah.
many, 3?
Could be, I'm. 'Cause if you
320
look at
would-
3 poles, that's roughly $170 a piece. That's 440. 440 and 320 is 760.
60. That's gotta be it.
I hate to assume that, but
We could clarify that, but,
So you get a pole that you can, a sign that you can read coming and going, only if you're,
well, no, it'd be,
Sometimes you only have it going in one direction.
sometimes you do, but other time, like, you know, welcome to Templeton, or leaving, you know,
Yeah.
entering gate Templeton, or, you know, sometimes it's double-sided stuff.
Okay.
And this would be the, you know, right to farm Templeton.
So for purposes of the minutes, are we assuming
8
that, or are we gonna ask the question?
One-sided signs would be
I think we're
4
gonna ask a
poles.
question.
yeah, that doesn't,
Let's see if he can.
that doesn't add up.
The numbers
Does not
don't work.
compute?
No.
Okay, so, go back to,
We get as many signs and poles as there is
I was
money.
gonna say, with this, you
That's
can
it.
assume all kinds of things, because like I said, this covers a sign in with the pole and the breakaway, so if you take out the pole and the breakaway, or take out the sign, what's the pole and the breakaway go for, $100, $90? You know, and, you know, the $4 nuts and bolts stay the same, labor would stay the same.
what is
but-
that, 124, 129, let me see if I can do some quick math again.
Is that, I don't know if I have that one.
129?
50.
Oh,
It's a
I don't have that as pages, I get that.
Mhm.
It's just, it's a question, but it's like, I can't get it to add up to 750.
Okay. So the signs are $40 a piece, that would be 80. Let's see.
Could I be so bold as to say that for $300 and $400 that we just ask the question and
Yeah, I think so.
move on?
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause it's not,
we're not gonna come up with the answer.
Right, we're not
Yeah,
gonna pick
and
it.
if we do, we're not gonna know it's the right one.
Right. We can come up with many answers.
Your money, I don't know, who knows?
Yeah, because the bigger issue is the tax bill templates. Why are we looking at templates at this particular point?
yeah, if you do 4,
We've already gone through the FY 18.
That's the treasurer's, right?
Yeah, treasurer collector stats on page 58.
So that was explained, I remember her talking about that, I don't remember in detail.
So who are they calling the deputy TC?
When they say that they're sending the bills out twice a year, I believe Gardner sends their bills out twice a year.
Yeah. The deputy tax collector is Jeffrey and Jeffrey, and that's who handles the motor vehicle excise
Okay.
billing.
So on page 60 is where we have the new template to convert to twice-a-year billing.
You have
Yes.
that on this?
Yes, that's right
Okay,
here.
Okay, okay. Okay, I didn't know if you did.
So,
But there's this, the one up here.
page 60.
They're going to bill trust for that.
That's a lot of money to make a change.
Well, I'm a little confused because it says the 3 times 3, that's 9. He only gave them 6, and there's an asterisk beside it and says, assume $7,000 cost for new template.
And the postage done in-house?
If you think about it, for the postage of 5,000 bills, how much, you know, that's $2,500 roughly, you know, per mailing. So by cutting it down to 2 mailings a year as opposed to 4,
Yeah.
you're saving almost $5,000. So the first year, it costs us $2,000 more,
Yeah.
and then we start seeing a benefit of it
Yep.
the following year.
Right, you're investing now to save
Yeah.
down the road.
Also frees up some time for the people that work in the office too, because they don't have to go through that whole thing.
Well, it also affects cash flow too,
Yep.
so that's something I don't.
The way I read this is, it says assume, there's an asterisk beside the quarterly real estate and PP tax bills, roughly 5,000 bills, and it says assume, and there's a little asterisk and it says assume $7,000 cost. Is that above and beyond, or is that in addition, is that part of the cost?
Who knows?
Am I not reading it correctly, or?
It says what you said.
Yeah, right.
They're still figuring on 52.2 weeks a year. So that means there's money left.
Well, that's to be able,
That's okay.
That's for
I
payroll.
mean, but when they paying them, I think she's doing that too.
So I would say the 7,000 is an additional upfront cost to switch over, and then because there are tax bills sent out, like the city of Gardner, for 0.
I know it.
4 times a year. So if you cut it down to two mailings, that's where the savings and stuff is gonna come in.
mhm.
And no, I don't know why they send it with just a 0 paper copies.
Bother, really, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like getting 3 bills and they give you 3 envelopes. It's like,
It looks like they got the built-in. Yeah. So that's what it looks like. It looks like the 7,000 is an additional on top of this number, and then the TA's number of 6,000 is anticipating a savings of $3,000 for the one mailing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
One and
yeah,
makes two.
sometimes.
Depends who you talk to.
Not if it's owed to me.
If you go over to the school, 1 and 1, that's 3.5.
3.5 plus interest.
Well, actually, 1 and 1 might make point a half, so we need 4.
Okay.
But you're only spending 2. No. 1 and 1 is 0.5, so we need
It's
4.
not, it's not clear.
It's mud.
What section are we in? Is it section 4 of the budget book?
Oh, it's page, you're talking about page 60?
No, I was looking for
Oh.
which section.
Oh,
Section 4.
It is 4, thanks.
Okay, so for Article 1,
Yep.
question, farm signage, the tax bill templates. You want to question that, or are we clear on that?
Well, it begs the question, just for clarification, that's all.
I forget, let's see what this was on the draft. Yeah, see, in the draft, they had selectmen litigation 17,250, 7,000 tax bill, 750 farm signage, and 50,000 for the snow and ice deficit. Then they had another penciled in, so. Some things are changing in a good way and others are going up, but.
Okay.
Look at. So they'll, yeah, yes. Those 2 questions for Article 1? The tax bill and the farm, or do you want to question the litigation too?
Yeah, why it doesn't go into the town council expense?
Let me check real quick.
And if it was unanticipated for the litigation, why aren't we going out of the emergency reserve?
It's true. Where it should be coming out of.
Yeah, purchase of services.
You know why it comes out of the select board? Because it's purchase of services for legal. Because there's no standalone, if you look at under section 4 in the written, where the fund numbers are, you look under selectmen on page 33, it's actually on 35. Purchase of services, it has description, legal services, 60 grand. So for that litigation, that tells me that it's beyond the 60, they spent the 60, now they need a little extra. to go into court to do the settling that they need to do.
Right, so this will be from town meeting to June 30th to deal with any litigation issues.
Right. And possible encumbrance
Right,
if they don't get the bill until afterwards.
right.
So that's why that's on the selectmen's.
Well, if it was unanticipated, wouldn't there be a possibility to come to the emergency reserve? If it was unbudgeted and unanticipated?
That's another way of doing it.
I guess,
They
whose
chose not
option's
to,
that,
so
yeah.
They
Yeah.
chose to take it out of certified free cash.
They're probably saving that money for something else. I would
Well, I was gonna say,
guess.
Carter did mention about the, advisory committee reserve, for that issue we were talking about earlier. The snow and
It's the
ice.
town reserve, actually. It's
Yeah,
not, doesn't
right.
belong to us. We just oversee it.
Yeah. Poorly stated on my part.
So,
Right, because Article 1 deals with fiscal 18
amendments,
amendments. It doesn't have to do with fiscal 19,
right.
which is in the book. But,
And that would be, if you look on the, where would that be?
This is what I don't understand.
see, you're right, Will, because if this is for fiscal 18 operating budget amendments, the right to farm signs
Mm.
are in 19, and the treasurer collector request for
Can't
the
hear.
template.
Will. Well, you didn't hear Julie.
I'm not sure that this is done correctly for a different reason, okay? These are fiscal 18 operating budget amendments, fiscal 18. What's in the book is fiscal 19. So, these costs, like the litigation I can see, because they ran out of money in legal
Ran out of money?
services, okay? But the treasurer collector is for a cost to be incurred after July 1st. To get the
This is true.
template,
Yeah,
okay? And the same with the right to farm signage.
So you can't mix
That's
years.
something that's gonna be done
Nick?
after July
Right.
1st,
Unless they wanna buy the templates,
to get
this
ready
year.
to do the,
so when they hit the ground, they can start doing it that way.
did they vote to go back to a year?
I don't know if they voted on it. I know they mentioned it.
What's that?
Did they
Doing-
vote to go back to sending out tax bills twice a year versus 4 times a year? Because I think we had to adopt a statute
I
as
think they did.
selectmen
I
to
think
do
they
it.
did.
Okay,
I would have to look at the meetings. I
Yeah.
seem to remember either watching the meeting or being at the meeting when they discussed that.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm trying to look.
There's the budget that actual shows where we are with the,
Purchase of service, they had 65, there's 27, and this was back in March, so they're figuring, yeah. So I'm jotting down a fiscal 2008, 18 versus 19 question.
Okay.
Okay to move on to 2?
Yep, we're moving right along here.
Well, it's
Watch out, we don't run you over.
I know.
okay, Article 2, report of town offices. And that is to accept the report of 2017, which we will see should be on the website pretty quick.
It is, I think. Oh, that, no.
And you'll get it when you go to vote, so. Which we actually need to check that.
Do we know if there's any exclusions like in past years where reports weren't issued?
I haven't seen it, so I
Okay.
can't say. Are you going to check that to see if it's on? It wasn't at the top of the list,
Oops.
at, I don't know, 4 o'clock, something like that, but. The report of the committees and set the annual spending limits for the revolving funds. So I guess any questions we would have about that is once when we see the town report. And the only thing about the revolving funds is to add them up to make sure they don't exceed the I have to check the Modernization Act because they changed it a little bit.
Yeah, I think they put.
You don't
limits.
have to vote to reaffirm them every year, I know that for sure. But the limits, I forget if they did away with it or not.
Well, I went to annual reports, they don't have 17 up there,
Okay.
they have 16. I'll check the selectmen's.
It'll
page.
probably be up there, let's see. The election's basically a week away, 10 days.
Yep.
So they should have them in, if they don't have them in now, they should have them in within a few days. I would expect to see them up by election day, or maybe the day after, I don't. So is Article 2, any big concerns there?
No.
All right.
Only if there's a limit, as you pointed out.
Yeah, like I said, off the top of my head, I know you don't have to vote to recreate them, to reauthorize them anymore. Article 3 has amend bylaws.
Excuse me,
Article
Mr.
4
Chairman, was there any note or question on Article 2 then?
No. So Article 3, Article 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Yeah, really butchering this up again.
I think is the end of the bylaw one.
Article 3 to 8 is amending bylaws. The only thing about those are, we're in the third year of a payment to a firm that is codifying all the bylaws, that is going through them, looking at them, finding ones that conflict with each other,
And we're changing
conflict
them. with
with state law, or may not coincide with the Municipal Modernization Act, and I don't think it's,
Wise.
they're not complete yet. Do you recall when Carol said they would be, is it sometime?
I think in the fall, they're gonna have a special town meeting, and at that point, hopefully, I had asked if they could have a hearing
I think they're gonna
before they do that.
have them done.
Right.
So that's my only concern with, and my issue with Articles 328, changing bylaws before we have that process. It's
Doesn't make
3-year
any
payment,
sense.
and I believe it's $30-something $100
A year.
a year to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, it's almost $4,000.
So the question is, do we know whether or not they've already looked at these, or if they?
Why change the bylaws before you've been told
What changes need to
if
be
they're,
made?
I mean, if the bylaw is good to start with? You're paying somebody to look at something, and while they're looking at it and trying to research it to see if it's good,
You're changing it.
you're changing it,
Yep.
which seems to me just part of the problem to begin with.
And what's that process that we're paying for right now?
Codification of the
Codification.
town's general bylaws.
I forget the name of the company.
I don't know if it's in here, but.
But I think they were gonna review all the bylaws, compare them to the Mass General laws and the Municipal Modernization Act, and to see what sometimes there are conflicts within our bylaws themselves.
So it makes no sense to do this now. It would make more sense to wait till later if it's necessary. Wait until we get the report from these people to see what they say.
Right, and then it has to be approved by town meeting.
That's
It's not
right.
just they do it and then off you go.
Yeah, it's $3,998.
Yeah, so we're gonna undermine them by making all these big changes. That's crazy.
And this is the third year of a 3-year contract.
Yep.
And then there'll be an annual service fee of $11.95 in fiscal '20 and thereafter.
Yeah, so why would you do this? I mean, it's,
Right, because they're gonna make this all electronic and update it.
Yes, and it'll be
So-
on a website, so when the
Right.
town creates a new bylaw,
Yeah.
they'll look at it, they'll do all the
Yep.
legwork.
so we won't be
Right.
in the position we're in now
Right,
And-
so they could take these bylaws that are recommended for this town
and
meeting.
throw it out.
No, they could look at it and figure out where it would fit.
Yeah.
Within the new codification system, if that's adopted.
But the question is, why are we amending them now before we have the results of that
Right.
codification process?
Yeah,
So the bylaws would actually have to go 2 places. They would go to them,
mhm,
and they would have to go to the Attorney General's office before the changes would
right.
be in effect.
Okay.
And that's my problem with those articles.
Because there's also one bylaw that says that every 5 years that you have to make a hard copy of that and print booklets. I mean, if they
That's an
put it online,
expensive
I
proposition.
like that, but
Yeah, if there's bylaw that says,
You have to have a paperback. I think I have an old one.
yeah,
so.
I got a long time ago.
we're actually past due for
Yep.
a hard copy.
This says LHS Associates. I'm gonna see if it's, they got an invoice in here.
So it doesn't make any sense to do that. It's
Nope.
mean-spirited to start with.
Well, that's gonna be my question to the TA is, what's gonna be the process? We change these bylaws. Are they gonna be submitted to the firm that's doing the codification prior to being sent to the Attorney General? What's the process here? Cause that's my problem, my personal issue with all
Probably
the
hasn't
bylaws.
dawned on them that we're in the middle of this.
Seems like we're
whole-
doing the thing that they're paying to try to straighten out, because in 13, we created a bylaw to have a town administrator, and then in 14, they replaced that instead of adding another section for the town administrator to do the budget. And no one looked at the advisory committees, which doesn't state specifically to do the budget, but there's a little conflict there, and that's one of the reasons to do the codification, to straighten out all of these. We have, I think there's 2 or 3 that deal with when the warrant and the ballot has to be posted, the time and where it's gotta be posted. you can read one more, bylaw, and then you flip down, I don't know, 30, whatever it is, and you can find another bylaws almost stating the same thing. I wanna say it's the warrants and, for town meeting, and special town meeting, it's like posted in, I don't know, a couple different ways. And one year, the advisory questioned it, and the interim town administrator was Bob Markle, and he sent out an email, and I know I still have it, citing the town
Conflict.
bylaw that says this. And you go looking, and it's towards the end, and then bang, there it is. But then you flip up to the other one, and it's like, dang. It's like there's two processes, and it's,
If I can, Mr. Chairman, when we had our annual meeting for the finance committees, I asked the question of the DOR legal about this, about whether or not, when they got a bylaw, such as the one we have for the selectmen and the town administrator to do the budget, whether or not they looked at the town's other bylaws, and the answer was no.
it's a
And I-
DOR or Attorney General.
Attorney General's office, I'm sorry. And the individual said, no, that they didn't, and I said that there's a conflict, and they were interested in having a look at those two. If the town, they basically said the town should submit those for them to review for the conflict.
Because you submit a bylaw down there, and they're not gonna check all the they just say, well, town
Looks
is
good.
trying to, home rule, and they just look at it and goes, oh yeah, this meets all the requirements of the law, so it's good. They figure, a town isn't gonna
You're supposed
submit,
to know what you're
submit a
doing when you
bylaw, a new
send it
bylaw
in.
for something
Amazing.
that they already have.
One other comment I have about this is, I believe it was last year or the year before, I believe the advisory committee submitted a bylaw,
3 bylaws, and
and we were told
the
to
selectmen,
wait for it to be, they wouldn't even put it on the warrant,
Yeah.
because we had to wait for the codification process.
That's right.
So
Now the rules changed.
just saying.
Depends
because
on
I was
who-
looking,
Well, to go along
I was
with,
looking at the selectmen, the Board of Selectmen meeting minutes, and that was on there. The advisory committee submitted 3 bylaws.
Yeah.
Changes, additions, whatever, and the selectmen, that was the response. They wouldn't put them on because they were in process of starting the codification.
So,
Yeah.
so why
Well-
don't, excuse me, why don't we just make the same suggestion back to them, saying, okay,
Well-
you told us not to last year, we're still in the process of doing this, so,
why
can
are
these-
you doing-
yeah, can this be postponed?
Yeah, over, just pass over.
And that'll have to be done on, town meeting floor, because,
Yep.
yeah, we can't make the selectmen take them off.
No,
Right.
suggest.
I'll make a motion.
No, but they can just not read the articles if
Yep.
they're in agreement.
Yeah, they can make no motion. The selectmen could make no motion on the article and just pass them on by. I don't know if they will, but. Yes, Will.
I find it interesting that in this particular warrant, you have the Conservation Preservation Committee putting a warrant article on, and it's in their name, as submitted by them. So, I mean, there's no consistency. They seem to be kind of willy-nilly about the consistency, about if they allow other committees or people to put the warrant article or departments or
Which
boards.
one are you talking about, Will?
It goes conservation preservation.
Oh.
It's way in the back.
Article 9 is one.
And then you also have the fact that they have a selectmen's that is on there as a warrant article submitted by the selectmen for the planning board. there doesn't seem to be any consistency in how they allow warrant articles for boards and committees.
Well, if you look at Article 13, it says submitted by the Board of Selectmen on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee. And Article 9 has submitted by the Community Preservation Committee.
Right.
Now, I don't know if that's a, one of those little errors in the process.
Does it really make
That
a
it's-
difference? Guess I gotta ask, I mean, it's, okay, it's
Well-
inconsistent, I agree it's inconsistent, but does it,
If you allow a committee or board to put it on, then anybody that submits them as committees or boards should be allowed. And it shouldn't be that the selectmen are doing it for you. It's either one or the other. That's,
Yeah, I believe that's the only one, and it might just be, it's possible that's just a, like a typo.
Well, yeah, this is the inconsistency, not,
Because I believe that's the only one that has that. And since the next CPC article is submitted by the board on behalf of them, that's what I believe it is.
yeah, that's because the article about the Walter Furnace School is submitted by the Community Preservation Committee.
And then Article 13, funding for the community preservation accounts, and it's submitted by the Board of Selectmen on behalf. So I think that is, I just think that's a typo.
let's see.
I really do.
I don't know why they brought this Article 9 back again after people voted it down.
I remember, there was discussion on that, and John Henshaw got up there, and
Found it
he
determined.
either said it then, or we said it at a CPC meeting that I watched, that they were, I think he explained it on town meeting floor, that they were gonna go back and research that and bring it back.
it
Found
was
it
actually
determined we're
after
gonna
this
buy a damn swamp.
special town meeting, and they actually secured the, grant they had been
Right,
talking about, so
right.
they actually got a commitment on that, so that was something new too.
So. And they're pretty, they're usually pretty good with that money, cause it's built up to, I forget what's the balance, 1.5 or 2.5 mil, it's,
Well, a lot of it is a liability that we talked about at the town meeting, whether you bought land on both sides of the road, whether you end up owning the road, and it's mostly swamp, so.
The other thing that we-
They can
that-
talk about it again.
Yeah, the other thing that was talked about was the fact that when you look at a lot of the parcels, there were wet areas and not
Yeah, they're all
conducive for,
wetland.
well, not, unless you wear hip boots and you want,
They're not giving us a big meadow with a 500-mile view, let's put
Right.
it that way.
it's not that we're getting some of the better land back.
You know, we're getting the dredges. Then we can keep the beavers out, it'll cost us money,
hey, the beavers do wonderful work.
I know,
They do.
unless you've got a backyard with them in it.
And they cut off your
They
driveway.
create, they create wetlands, create habitat
Oh,
for
yeah,
other
I know.
witches and
I
water
know.
supplies and.
Actually,
Actually, I was
there's
watching not to get off subject too much, but I was watching a thing for out west where it's really dry. And
Yes.
like in the desert thing, and they brought in some beavers.
they.
And they said the beavers
Hitchhike home.
the beavers actually took a desert dry area, a little stream running through there. And once upon a time, I guess it used to be a lot of water and stuff, and then beavers were all trapped out. Anyway, they introduced beavers in there. People are gonna appreciate this on the advisory committee meeting. But, and they put in beavers in there, and now in the middle of the desert almost, you come across areas with trees, grass, And now a lot of species that were almost just leaving, out of the area are coming back.
I have
Lot
beavers
of
talking
birds.
on my Facebook page,
A lot of birds,
really.
a lot of and there was a thing about, people think that the water just goes so deep and spreads out, but they've tracked it, and the water actually, they increase the depth of water, and it helps the water supply. And that's what it was about, because
Stay clean.
agricultural and stuff, and it's dry, and the groundwater's getting tapped for all kinds of things, like big solar farms and stuff. They're taking that, I forget the word for it, but the underground water reserves for cooling that. A lot of it's going for agriculture and drinking, and the beavers actually do great work to help build up the water reserves. So, that's a budget
Gotta be careful
article,
about
that's a
how-
I
budget
watched the
article
same-
that I'm gonna vote for.
I watched the same thing.
So-
It was
Gotta be
very
careful about
fascinating.
how we talk about beavers in this community, because we've shot them in the past.
Yeah, there was a town employee that almost got in big trouble for capping a beaver.
Better not when I'm around.
I ain't gonna spend no money to control beavers, we just cap them, but anyways. That's our sidetrack for,
Stick
wet-
around.
So-
you never know what you're gonna
acquiring wetlands, good for the beavers.
So, Mr. Chairman, what I have for the question here is on Article 9 and 13, is why the article submission process inconsistent? Is that
Yes,
the-
for this one, is Article 9 a typo, or? Because it is the only one that I see.
And it's a
Outside,
two, and it's a two-third vote also.
outside of the citizen petition articles. Everything else is either submitted by the Board of Selectmen or submitted by the Board of Selectmen on behalf, except for that one article. That's why I believe it's somebody forgot to hit the paste button. So besides my issue with the bylaws in the middle of the codification process, Articles 3 through 8, I wanna take a look at them one by one. Not Article 3, I'm sorry. Article 4. Where the bylaws start. I believe it's 4. Yeah. 4, 5, 6. 7, and Article 8. And Article 4 deals with the advisory committee.
Yeah. Why are we putting an article, a bylaw in for Article 3 for departmental revolving funds?
Who's the Director of Community Services?
It's, they wanna make,
The library lead?
Oh, actually, it is 3. I'm sorry. 3 through 8, the bylaw change for the, and I would have to look at the bylaws.
So if they're going, the override doesn't go through, are they going to make, and they claim they're gonna close the library?
For what now?
Article 3, I'm just trying to figure this out. They've got they're establishing several department accounts, the revolving funds, and I said, who's the Director of Community Services? And I think they are talking about the lady that runs the library, which would be fine with me. But if the override doesn't go through and they claim they're gonna can the library, I don't understand how they're doing this. They're gonna keep her on as a Director of Community Services?
Is that a new position?
Yeah,
Has it been posted?
no,
So why are you creating a fund for a position that hasn't been created?
Let's see.
This probably has all to do with that, the, trying to get everybody who's over 19.5 to 40, and so that they have, with the insurance deal, they have all,
Right.
there's some new,
I think
whatever.
this is probably why we need to wait for the codification to figure all this stuff out. And it reminds me of like, putting the cart before the horse, because do you have a director of community
Section
services?
6.
Yeah, did he post it? Did they,
Where are the interviews? I
Did
don't
they-
know.
yeah,
How did
walk
this
up
happen?
and say, hey, I got a job for you? And
Usually you have a job description,
who's gonna
Post the
say that
position,
they're gonna
do
close the library
interviews.
because that's
I
not
don't know.
necessary? Not in my book, anyway. So it sounds like they put the cart before the horse again. It's something they've dreamed up in their head, but they haven't talked to anybody about it. I think the public has a right to make a decision.
So what's the question on Article 3?
What the
Is
heck?
it creating a new position
Yeah,
without
and
a?
like,
It's not actually, well, for me, it's a bylaw change in the middle of the codification process.
same thing, so
That's-
you may as well just.
We've
go
already
with
got
to
that
start
point,
with.
though.
Right.
Well,
And
But
that's,
if we're gonna look at these individually,
there's
Right.
other problems
there
with
are
it.
other problems with them as well. So, what I was bringing up was, you have departmental revolving funds for a department that, like,
Doesn't exist.
well, I think that community services does exist. I
they
think
do.
they put the library, but they don't have a director of community services. That, I don't know if they have a job description, I don't know if they've done an interview. I mean, is there a person who would be authorized to expend from this fund? Why are you creating a fund if you don't have the person in place?
I
So-
mean, there may be other people in town government that would like that position.
This is putting the cart before the horse again.
So who is the Director of Community Services? Is this a new position? If so, how was it posted and filled?
Right.
And where's their office going?
actually, you would have to, since the Board of Selectmen are the Personnel Board, read the personnel policy and see what it states about, positions and stuff. Because they used to go to town meeting, individual articles, but
Yeah.
I think they changed it.
Yeah, good figure.
Because when you look at the budget sheet, 10, which tells you which page in the book to look at, there is no community services.
I think that's what they wanna create, is the
Right.
community service.
But wouldn't you create it and then come back and look at revolving funds?
Yes.
Okay, that's the point I'm trying. I can just see this as saying, if this passed at town meeting, saying, well, see, the town voted to support a community service department, when that's really not in the question at all. They're supporting a departmental revolving fund for community services.
So we're mixing purposes here,
Yeah.
okay.
Why,
So,
why do part-time employees get fringe benefits?
Okay,
Most
But you
places-
gotta ask the selectmen that, I
Yeah,
have no
I have
idea.
to, because most places, if you're part-time, you don't get any benefits. That's why down in
Article
Wally
3.
World, nobody works over so many hours. Make sure
okay,
they
Article
get
3. Community Services Director. No such position or department. Does that sum up your concern?
You know why things get confused. Good grief.
Library. So, let's see.
So are we moving on to 4, or is it?
Okay, if you happen to look, in your book, it's dated March 20th, 2018, and this might be their thinking. It's the memorandum. It's town administrator's weekly report. Doesn't say, it says actually the sewer department budget fiscal 19.
Jeffrey, what page you on?
On the second page,
What tab are you on?
4,
Tab 4?
I don't know, it's about 3 pages in,
Okay,
32A, and then it should be in there. That's where I stuck mine, I don't,
all right. I think mine might still be separate.
it was one of those things, one of those, staple things I handed out.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
then
think
it's
it's in
lost
my
somewhere.
packet.
That's just where I happen to stick mine. But anyway, on the second page, it says, down near the bottom, and this is talking about the sewer and stuff, but it says, finally, we have an understanding that the Board of Selectmen has the right to make changes in its personnel practices and policies and organizational structure as its sole discretion, provided they are within statute. So they'll make changes at their discretion, as long as it's following Mass General Law.
Well, it's the same thing though, because they're doing all the bylaws, so why would you do this in the middle of the codification process?
So,
Doesn't
and like
make
I
any
said,
sense.
there was a town meeting vote
Yeah, I
to
know.
abolish the personnel board and make the
You do.
selectmen act as the personnel board.
Yeah, all right,
And with the creation of the town administrator position,
yeah.
the
Boy,
day-to-day stuff, so,
watch who you give a gun to.
that's how it's gonna work.
Yeah, okay.
That's how it works,
Sounds-
when you make those changes.
Yep,
Right,
something but come to bite you in the back.
but have they created the job? Is there a job description? Have they posted it?
It has been talked about.
Right.
I don't know if they've actually created the position.
Because they certainly haven't created the Department of Community Services, because,
So,
Well, what's that
It's
other
not grouped
department
together.
that all our money's in it, doesn't show anywhere? Amazing, ain't
so
it?
besides making a bylaw change before the codification process is done,
Yeah.
specifically Article 3 is Community Service Director.
Yep.
Does that position or department exist? And, if not, what is the process
Yep.
going to be?
That's what I would say pretty much about a lot
Is
of
there any
these
other,
changes that they're making that, why are you doing this now if you've got these people working on stuff? And then they're gonna come back and you're gonna say, oh yeah, we've got these other changes for you. My God, do that.
well, it just requires an explanation, really, but, and that's why it would have been nice. Some of these things were in here in the draft, but. Section 54. I didn't know there was that many sections under Article 4 of the bylaws.
I don't think there are.
No. Again, I think it should be Section 5, but,
Well, that's not what's given warning to the
No,
people at town
this is
meeting.
true.
You know, warrant means warning. How many times have we told that?
Let's see, section
How many articles have been disallowed?
5, 6, yeah. 6 sections.
All right, so not fifty-four.
It's posted on the,
Oh, that's a strike through. That
yeah,
can't-
of section 5, I believe.
Right.
Well, actually, that's not even section 5.
I don't know. What page you looking at? Well, it starts on page 4, goes to page 5, and then ends on page 6.
Talking about Article 4, right?
Yeah.
Section 54,
Yeah.
that's unreasonable. The 7 days and the 4 days, especially with the budgeting process that we have in this community.
Yep. Look what we went through with Markle when he was here. How many changes did we get 2 days before the meeting?
The night before the meeting.
Yeah, I know.
Let's see, I'm trying to find. Yeah, see, this says section 5.4.
Well, it's actually
It
section.
should be section 4. So this actually would be section 4.
I think what they're
4.
doing is bumping it out one.
All articles.
So instead of being 3 and 3A.
Well, it goes
it's
section 2, 3, then they're gonna have 4, and what's this gonna be, section 4A?
There's 4 and 4A as it present
No.
stands.
No,
Section 3 is 3. Section 4A will be section 4. Section,
4 will
the
be
old
5.
4 will be 5.
section 5 is 6, 6 and 7.
So upon request on 6, now they don't wanna give us facts and figures if we request them. Well, we'll talk about that at town meeting.
Let's see, what do they have
I
this?
will.
The write-up of these are just atrocious.
For Tuesday's meeting, I'll print out the, on 8.5 by 11, the bylaw, so we can actually, I'm trying to read it on my phone, and I'm
And
losing track
comparing
of
it, yeah.
sections, and
All right. Well, suffice to say, should definitely wait for codification.
Imagine having them do all that work and be almost done and get handed this. Oh, my God.
review, on, May 1.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
go on to Article 6 now, or 5?
Article 5,
Um,
the citing of Class 2 auto licenses.
I have a question on that one, is not to exceed 21. How many Class 2 licenses do we have in this community? That seems kinda excessive.
At one time, there's,
That basically would say that there's 4, that's 5 Class 2 licenses in each of the precincts. That's probably 1 Class 2 license on every street corner.
A couple piled up in certain spots.
well,
So what they're
they do-
scratching is the town's 4 precincts so that they can all go in one precinct.
No, there's no more 4-town precinct, we
Oh,
only
that's
have
right.
2
We only have
precincts.
We only have
We
3.
don't have
Well, we have 3,
2,
yeah.
A and B.
Right.
I believe.
And
So, the 4 is a strike-through, they wanna get rid of that.
Yeah, so it's gonna, they can, I mean, so what that means, they can all go in one precinct. the way I look at it.
No, it says with said number to be apportioned among the town's several precincts.
Oh, okay.
You could have zoning restrictions in some precincts that are going to, prevent some licenses.
Let's see.
Right, and that would create a
31?
conflict with this
Way
bylaw.
down there.
No.
Well, no,
No.
I'm just saying it has, there are other reasons why you
Right.
wouldn't have them equally distributed amongst the
No, because
precincts.
not all businesses are spread evenly.
Right.
So the Veterans Advisory Board, did we establish that somewhere along the line?
That was,
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
was, okay,
yeah, that's a bylaw.
I keep-
It's a long one.
okay.
The question I have on that one is, we just passed that a while back and we're already changing it?
Well, why do the veterans get to choose their own officers? And if there's a vacancy, they fill the vacancy. Why
Because
is
us veterans
that
are special, we be special,
You know, because,
and you little
Yeah.
old appointed advisory people ain't
Right.
special.
right,
Well, I
just a
think
little,
we should wait for codification.
yeah.
So Article 5, other than the codification thing, is there any big issues with that? I mean, it's just striking out something that we don't have. I mean, that's,
Yeah. No, nope. sorry.
again, my thing is just, why
Just
don't we just
wait.
do them all?
They should figure that out when they do the codifications.
Why 21? I mean, that's a lot.
It's been 21 for,
Has that been?
yeah, that's posted right now, that's,
I don't think we have 21,
no.
but we
And
can
that was
do
in
up
past,
to
and,
21.
yeah, that was not to exceed 21. That was done in 85.
Wow.
And I remember there was one, he's got a class 2 license with a limitation of 5 cars.
Mhm.
It's down towards the Phillipston line. 5 or 6 cars, I mean, it's a small number, so he's got he's basically doing it like out of his house. I remember that specifically, it was, I don't know if I was sitting on the board, but
So, it doesn't say when they should have their meetings either. Does it? Should stop having the meetings in the morning when nobody at works can go.
now, let's see. It just says a vacancy in an appointed position shall be filled for the balance of the unexpired term of the vacant position,
Doesn't say who does it.
but it doesn't say who does it.
Yeah.
Include recommendations,
Oh, wait a minute. The Board of Selectmen appoint. That's in the first page on page 6.
Okay.
So how do they know if you've been honorably discharged? They make you show them, you have to show them paperwork?
Usually the paperwork is already on file.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Okay, Article 6. Outside the codification process,
Yeah, I think it's looking at, trying to eliminate the conflict of people being, town employees, elected or appointed, are not eligible to be
Members.
members of the board. I think that's what it's looking to
Do.
rectify.
Since we have all of these, has that codification outfit ever issued any type of report that says that they should make these changes?
Question, good question. Oops.
No, I
I
believe,
thought that was,
I believe they're still in the process.
yeah, I thought it was at the end that they were going to make all the,
Right, yeah, make all the
Right.
corrections, changes, or whatever they need to do, a report of it. That's why I just, like I said, I don't understand why. So, outside of codification, Article 6, any big problems with that one?
Nope.
Article 7.
again, codification here. The whole thing, I mean, there's changes here happening, and we haven't even,
I think we've captured that, though. We've said 3
Yeah.
through
Yep.
Right.
8
We've done
are
that.
all
yep.
bylaw changes, so we're gonna ask that same question of all of them. Do we have any other questions
For
of the
7,
specific articles?
yeah. On section A, it used to be that they gave you a year before they placed a lien or wouldn't renew your license if you had unpaid taxes.
I wanna say, I thought there's a state law that allows you to do that. I'll have to check on that.
Okay.
Because I mean, realistically, somebody could have used this by,
Right.
with the May
Well,
period.
there was a year or so, or maybe 2. There's a business in town that he does it just on principle. He doesn't pay his property tax until like December. When they're, and I remember this because I was at the meeting and they were gonna deny his business license. And his thing was, if he comes in on the 31st, and it say that's a regular business day for town hall and pays his taxes,
Mhm.
and they have denied him his business license
Mhm.
because, so unless the selectmen are gonna meet on a weekend, when January 2nd comes,
Mhm.
he's paid his taxes, and but he doesn't have a business license, so he can't operate his business, so he's losing money even though he paid his taxes. It is, and like he said it at the meeting, he does it just out of principle. He said, I do it out of principle because I can.
Well,
So I think that's part of the thinking behind getting rid of the 12 months. But
I have a
whether that
problem with
conflicts-
changing anything based on one person. And that-
Well,
Yeah, but,
that may just be like the example that
yeah,
they're using for justification to, so all businesses or everybody, but if you're looking for a license, cause that's on the license thing, before they issue one, is you up to date on your taxes and stuff, and if you have 12 months, you can be 12 months behind. And they were not gonna give him his business license.
Hmm.
And that was, the reason cited was, he told him, he said, I do it out of principle. But he pays, and when I was on the Board of Selectmen, I remember, I looked at it, so I checked, and I'm going, yeah, he's within his right. And he pays, he just waits till the last minute to pay.
Yeah.
So, like I said, if you do away with the 12 months, then they could, in theory, I guess, say, you haven't paid your taxes, so we're not gonna renew your business license. To try to get tax collection, it's,
Yeah. Yeah.
you make it rough on business, but you want business to come to town. And like the 250th anniversary, who you go to looking for contributions,
go
like
to
the
all
flags up and all of
businesses.
that stuff, they go to businesses.
Mhm.
And then you wanna give businesses a hard time. I mean, I don't see the logic myself, but that's just me.
Oh. Got a big stick you can club to.
Uh,
Yeah.
Open burning, bicycle permits, sales of articles for charitable purposes, children work permits, clubs, association dispensing
Yeah, they
food or
shouldn't be
beverage
doing any of this
license.
stuff until the codification's done. It's nuts. I mean, these people are working on stuff. You're gonna turn around and say, oh, by the way, we made all these changes? That's not fair. We're paying them, right? To do this? Snow?
I'm looking at section B, the bold part.
Yeah.
It looks like they can deny, revoke, suspend any license or permit, including renewals or transfers, with respect to any activity, event, or other matter which is the subject of such license or permit, and which activity, event, or matter is carried out or exercised, or is to be carried out or exercised on or about real estate owned by any party whose name appears on said list. So this list, you have to make sure that it's accurate, because if you make a mistake, you're really gonna
Right.
open yourself up for potential liability and lawsuits.
And of course, we're always right about everything.
You know it's always accurate 100% of the time.
Yep. Can
And
you
then-
imagine?
When you go down to the section D, this section shall not apply to any of the following licenses and permits. So this section, section D, is about waiving denials, suspensions, or revocations. So this, you can't get a waiver, denial, or revocation for open burning permits, bike permits, charitable purposes, dispensing food or beverage licenses, dog licenses, like hunting and fishing licenses. This is like a really bizarre article. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't know where to begin.
Question is the, would the
Doesn't say
AG
town
pass
collector,
this?
it says tax collector.
Hmm.
Maybe a typo.
Must be.
This would have to go before the AG, and would he pass this, or they pass it?
Well, as long as it's legal, they'd pass it. If it makes no sense, it doesn't make any difference.
Child,
To
No, they
them.
just look to see if there's a conflict with the state laws.
So,
So, you can put in utter nonsense if you wish.
Yep.
And they'll approve it so long as it's not illegal.
that's what I was trying to say, yes.
That's what will
Yes.
happen. Okay. And this whole article refers to a tax collector, not a town collector, you're correct.
because I don't
Details,
think we have a
details.
town collector, we have
I
a
know,
tax
let's-
collector.
Let's keep opening up more can of worms here, this is fun. If you wanna start off town meeting with these babies, okay.
Yeah,
There you go, and you wonder why they don't come to town meeting.
You'd wonder why they don't volunteer for committee.
And why we have three
Ah.
positions open on the ballot.
All your views you could want in a lifetime, just open yourself wide.
And Article 8 is basically to get the town meeting in front of town elections.
I have a problem with this. For one thing, we've done it one way for a long, long time. So the idea now is that if I'm in office, but I'm gonna be voted out, I can go to town meeting and I can sit there and I can push for an article that I don't have to live with, because if I get beat, the
No,
new
no.
guy has to live with that one. So it goes two ways, okay? We sat on the stage, or we sat below the stage, as the selectmen sat there and didn't even know that the warrant was the right one or not. So, they were in charge. If a new guy comes in, he's stuck with their work, and he's gotta live with it. Understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I can't see any point in making these changes. And if Phillipston doesn't make changes, we're gonna end up having a problem with the school budget.
Let's see.
So if you are running for election, you should know what is going to be on the town meeting warrant. You should be up to speed. If you are a sitting selectman, you sure as hell ought to know what's in the budget.
Well, that's what their argument is for having the town meeting before the election.
Yeah, but the new guy is the one that's gonna have to live with these rules that somebody else passed.
Well, you do that, you do that now.
Either way,
You do that now.
yeah, but either way,
It doesn't,
I can't see doing this change.
the argument was, so the present Board of Selectmen
Yeah.
can go to town meeting and present, especially the budget, but all the warrant articles that they put forward. They say that if you have, by having the election before the town meeting, you get someone on there who goes to town meeting and was not involved in the process.
Yeah, but the new guy is
I
gonna,
know what you're saying, but
the
it
new
doesn't
guy
really
is
change.
gotta
The
live
only
with
thing
the changes somebody else made.
The only change it does, well, if you get elected, have the election before
You
town
should-
meeting,
Sure as hell should know what
you're
you're doing
stuck with the
anyway.
budget that's already
way,
done
right.
anyways.
Right.
It's not just that, but if you look at the town moderator, the amount of time that a town moderator, if you put in a new town moderator,
That's the
that they
other item.
have, to get up to speed is very short, and the prep work that a town moderator has to do,
Should do.
or, well,
Should
Well,
do.
if you're
Should
running
do.
for moderator, you sure as hell should know what's
Well,
going on when
well,
you get the job.
well, it's not
It's
just.
like a selectman should know what's going on when they get the job.
It's not just that,
And they're
it's all
sitting
the
there
prep
in la-la
work.
land.
It's all the prep work, the technical prep work for the actual meeting itself, as far as the communications, as far as, the lighting out, all of,
I understand,
the physical
but it's-
things
I
of
think
the
it goes,
meeting.
it
But
goes
those was
two
the,
ways.
those were the two, that was
Yeah.
at the meeting that I was at, the one time they talked about it, that was the 2 points made. Cause it doesn't matter which, the election's held before or after, you have, the first year, you're basically stuck with the budget, the spending plan that the Board of Selectmen
Yeah.
put forth.
Yep.
But their contention was, when they go to town meeting, all of the selectmen sitting at the table will have voted on everything,
Right.
rather than having one or two new people sitting there.
Well, out of.
You might have run on something, against
Yeah.
the way the budget is.
Yeah, but when
So
he
they
gets,
wanna have,
when he gets a job, he's gotta
they-
live with it.
you live with it either way.
I know, but
You live with it either way.
you're supposed
their
to know
point-
what you're doing.
It's
That's
not
all my
about, it's
point.
not about knowing it, it's about having people at town meeting on the stage, reading the articles and defending the budget that they all voted for. And the second one was the new town moderator.
Well, one of the things, Mr. Chairman.
That's the two major points that they made. And the moderator one does make sense. The selectmen, not so much, but
Yeah.
the moderator one does make the most sense without the argument of making the swap. Yes, Will?
In either case, even if selectman has been elected and then goes into the annual town meeting, he does not have to vote for what somebody else passed, just like every other citizen in this community.
Right.
He has that option.
But the case that they made was, if you have all the selectmen on the stage at town meeting that voted for the budget, when it comes time to talk into town meeting, you'll have all 5 selectmen that in theory would be on board with it, versus having 2 new selectmen up there who may have ran opposed to some of the things, and they might be up there making the argument. Like I said, that one doesn't make sense to me. The
Oh,
moderator
may be a
one
rea-
is the best.
There may be a reason why they got elected and sitting up there. I mean,
I know.
this is a two-edged sword here, that they could end up changing
Out
this
of
whole
five-
thing.
out of
I
five
understand.
people, only one knew the budget was no good, and it was Doug. Everybody else sitting on that stage didn't know.
Yeah, well, it's one of the articles, and folks can figure out which way.
But
Yeah,
it's
this would be
also
one,
this codification thing too.
So,
Well, all right, it's just codification all around, and if they say, yep, or maybe the codifiers have looked at this, I don't know. And this is done with,
It's up to the people in town, they can make decisions.
and this would really be one for town meeting floor discussion.
Yep.
and
I hope they let the
fight
discussion
it out
go on.
fight it out on a town meeting. There'll be as much discussion as is allowed until
Yep.
someone or 2 people come up and say, move the question.
That makes
And
everybody
then,
happy.
but town meeting can vote no, not to
Yeah.
move the question, and keep the discussion going.
Yep.
But it's, sometimes it just, somebody says move the question, and people are standing in line and
It's
say,
like a
hey,
bunch of chickens, they all say. Yes,
but
yes.
town meeting, again, has the option to vote no, not to move the question. That's all they have to do.
Yep.
No, we wanna keep talking about it.
Speaking of the-
It's just, but this is one of those articles that really belongs on town meeting floor.
Speaking of the town meeting, has it been decided where we're gonna be having it?
In Narragansett,
Oh
I
my,
don't know,
isn't that
the broom
amazing?
closet, the parking lot, I
Oh,
don't
in a
know.
hard folding chair?
wait, what's
They-
wrong with the location of the,
They didn't put in for the
The auditorium's
auditorium.
already booked.
They went to book it for the town meeting, and they were told by the school department that the auditorium is already booked and it can't be changed.
After 250 years, they haven't figured
So,
out that town meeting.
They're
should be-
considering either using the gyms or the cafeteria, which, I know the gym was used back in, what was it, 3 or 4? When they had the
But you can't walk on the
Yeah,
floor.
dump
landfill.
thing,
Yeah,
and there was like, I don't know, almost 1,000 people there, so they had people in like 3 rooms,
yeah, they had them in the cafeteria.
And they didn't
the
count
gym,
half of them.
and the auditorium.
auditorium, but, yeah, they went to do the, I don't know why they waited so long, but
Yeah, I don't know, I
Looks
hope
like
there's
poor
enough
Pat planning
parking.
again.
so what does the school have going on?
I don't know.
I don't know what would be more important than the annual town meeting.
I couldn't find anything listed on any of the calendars.
Sounds like
Oh.
somebody's jerking our chain, as they would say.
Well, isn't there a religious organization that has that?
That's on Sunday?
Is that a Sunday or?
Yeah, it's on Sunday.
Okay, because I mean, there's other religious organizations that do it on.
They have a half day the day before this.
Yeah, half-day
Yeah.
school, so, I don't know, it could be I couldn't find anything posted on the school's website, but,
Maybe they're going to paint the floor.
but if you decide when you're gonna have your town meeting, I mean, it's not like you decided the date last week,
No,
so it just seems, whatever.
somebody's playing hardball.
We don't recommend where we have town meetings, so that's, it's out of my pay grade.
We probably should recommend them scheduling next year, though.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
how
that
about-
somebody would remember to do that.
We probably should recommend them scheduling next year, though.
Oh, yeah.
How about just schedule it a year in advance?
Yeah, it doesn't seem too difficult.
Ken?
Well, given the attendance, we could hold it here.
Yeah,
Well, you know.
Or in the
maybe
closet.
People will finally show up. It's their money, it's
Uh,
their
sadly-
meeting.
Sadly, yeah, you're right.
Well, they get burned a few times, so it's gonna be hard to get people to come back.
That's all the more reason to
Is-
go more.
Isn't there a possibility that they could go into the town meeting and end up making a motion at the very, very beginning, that they could end up having it during the week, so they wouldn't have to have people sit in the,
Yeah,
in
but
the
you know,
gym?
you're gonna have people come and then they're gonna leave and go back again?
You can recess the town meeting and hold it,
At another
you
date.
can actually hold
Yeah.
it out of town. Unless, I don't think they changed it in the Municipal Modernization Act, but as long as you
Good God, help me,
let people know and
please.
stuff, but.
It's hard enough to get people to come. Never mind telling them they gotta go sit on a folding chair.
But
You're right
if a
about
small
the,
number of people show up, that's been showing up,
Well, maybe
could
this year
almost
they
have it
will
here.
show up. There's a lot
Well,
of things talking.
So-
Sunny day,
time and place certain.
have it in the bleachers, out in the field.
okay, Article 9,
Sounds like.
unless there's any more issues with 8,
No,
I think that really is.
Yeah.
If people don't vote to pass it on it because of the codification, that'll be a real debate in town meeting. So Article 9. And that is the land of the frontal school.
This has got the same issues as it did the last time
Yep.
with the land itself.
Yeah,
It's up to folks to,
stand up. Speak up.
I think we could ask if that land is still, they haven't paid taxes on it.
I'm sorry, what?
That, if they've up to date on their taxes.
See, there's a disagreement about the people that own the land haven't used it the way they were supposed to, so they really aren't exempt. And there's a bit of a to-do about that. But it's a swamp anyway, and we need that, like we need a broken neck.
So the question is, are taxes up to date?
Yeah.
Okay. So check on Article 9, check on, taxes are up to date. Let's see. Check, assessor, collector. That'll be a fun question. Article 10, acceptance of Lafayette Road as a public way.
Well, we can't ask the highway superintendent if everything's up to date.
has anybody checked the condition of this road?
No,
Well, that's a question we can ask.
I mean, we've got stuck in the past
yeah, across from,
accepting roads and having problems with the roads.
Not by our trusty planning board.
Excuse me. It was involuntary.
I mean, it looks like even Cook Pond Estates Road has got some issues already.
starting, yeah, it didn't last long, did it? I noticed that this afternoon, I go that way, I'm not riding down South Road, it's not even passable.
That's how I get to your house.
Yeah.
Go across road, I go down a little bit of crappy Hubbardston Road, I go.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not riding down South Road, the hell with that.
How about we just let them all go back to dirt?
Yeah, well, that's what Bart says we're gonna do, gonna have to grade them all.
So is the road up to code or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to find that out.
Hopefully we can have a lot of this things answered,
Right.
except the bylaw stuff, we'd maybe get a handle on for Tuesday.
Mhm.
Article 11 is the scholarship fund.
Pretty much.
Didn't, a number of years back, scholarship committee, John Brooks wanted to have this at 10,000. Has he given up on that, or?
Apparently.
I know they tried to go up, but I think they backed off because of where you're gonna get it.
This used to be 2,500.
Yeah, I think way back, I looked back before though, I think it was above this, and then it might have been only for 1 year. And then, so I think it went up, it went down, and then it got pushed to 4, and it's been at 4 for a while. So,
It's only been about 3 or 4 years since it's been this.
it's okay.
Well, the town's been pretty broke, so.
Yeah. Still pretty broke. Twelve's Luann's, I think.
Now, let's see,
I know at one time, one of the past members questioned whether the town should be in the scholarship business.
That's really kind of a question.
what's that now, Will?
There was a time that, a number of years back, where one of the members of the advisory questioned whether we should be in the scholarship business as a
Well,
community.
I kinda question that personally myself, but.
$4,000 go a lot of places.
Okay. So Article 12, it says raise and appropriate, but it is accounted for.
Yep.
In the total budget, total of the spending plan. So, so, no biggie with,
No.
how far do you all wish to go this evening?
Probably till 9.
Yeah, it's all right with me.
I go to work tomorrow. 20 more minutes? Can probably knock off a few more.
Okay.
All right.
I'm thinking about all you that have to, be up and be someplace in the morning.
Yeah, well, you have to get your dog up.
Trying to be considerate.
Take your
What are you
dog out
doing
for a
at
walk.
4 o'clock in the morning?
What do you mean?
I got an
6
email and it said 4 o'clock in the morning.
4:15.
I was sitting there,
Easy fool.
Bear was stretched out on my bed, I was having a cup of coffee and some toast and
4 o'clock
doing
in the
some
morning.
stuff.
The
The
middle of
bear
the
don't
night.
move till about 7:30 now,
Oh, that's good.
then he
Oh,
goes
I'll
outside.
trade you, might get up at 6.
And then we go up to the rail trail and do about 4 miles. He likes it. Okay, Article 13.
I think that's
We're
just the
killing Paul trying to
boilerplate.
keep track of our questions and our little sidetrack discussions here.
Yeah, those don't have to be in the minutes.
I didn't tire her out either.
Dogs
because
and
it was early
beavers
in the
and
morning.
all
Oh,
kinds of stuff.
God.
Uh,
This is just the boilerplate,
Yep.
where the money is gonna go
Go.
from CPC, so.
So,
And this is pretty well laid out in the guidelines anyways.
Right,
Yeah.
this is what they
Of
have
this
to do with
money
the
is just, so this one is okay.
We should ask for the total, how much is in CPC?
Yeah, what is,
As for the total of what?
how much money we have?
I wanna say, I just saw that too. I was just looking at it, 1.5 something. It's up there. It's,
Yeah.
I was surprised there was that much left, considering how much has been spent, but it gets replenished at a good, pretty decent rate. 'Cause we're in that dollar for dollar percentage, even though the total is, kinda going down, but
That's not the total amount in the CPC, is it?
no. Like I said, I was just telling Julie, I looked at it, it's into like the $1 million range or a little more. It was, I forget where I think it's on the town website.
We collect about 110, and we receive about, no, we receive about 110 from the state. We
Yeah.
collect more than that.
Cause
No,
we
see-
were one of
see,
the,
that's right, wait, it's equal. We collect 110, that we receive
cause we're on the
110.
dollar for dollar because we're one of the earlier communities that went
Right.
for this.
And we're at 3%, which is,
There's communities that do it, that are just coming on board in the last couple of years,
Gardner
there
is-
was down.
Gardner is trying to get onto this also.
Yeah.
They're trying to sell it through the Worcester deal too. Worcester, they had a big article in the Worcester Telegram
Yeah.
about trying to promote. it.
Okay, expending CPC reserves. $70,000 on the Boynton Library building.
Seems like they need more money than that, but I think they have some money that was donated to them.
Uh-huh.
I wish they would stop using them as a whipping post by saying they're going to close them all the time, because there are a lot of people that use that place. And they do a good job.
15,000 for Templeton Board of Selectmen to expend CPA allowed uses to evaluate Baldwin Elementary School for possible community housing, open space recreation, transfer from the CPC
Where'd they get
accounts,
that-
budgeted reserve
Where'd they get
fund.
that from, that
I-
money?
I thought I was on that committee to figure out what we were gonna do with it.
Yeah,
We told you were on it.
so where did they?
I mean, we
where'd they-
volunteered you for
Where
it.
did they
Right.
dig up this amount from?
So why has that already been decided? It's used for community housing and open space and recreation resources.
I thought we were
Says
gonna
possible, for
plant
possible.
pot there.
Possible,
We're
okay.
setting the money aside
Didn't you
just in
decide
case.
that as the only member of that
I-
committee?
You know, after talking with myself for a long time,
You got some power over there you're
I-
abusing.
And
Yeah.
where did they get 15,000? Let's see, out of the air.
No, it's out of the community preservation.
No,
Funds.
where'd they find, how did they come to that amount?
that's probably what the amount they can expend up to
Oh,
for this kind
okay.
of thing.
But I
Maybe
mean, what
looking
if it
for,
costs 7 and they
For
end up with 15?
surveying and, you know,
No,
And this is another
Hey, we'll
project
spend
that
it
is just
somewhere
a
anyway.
money pit for
it's only pennies.
$15,000 for Grange Hall.
well, how many do we have already on the, budget to actual?
They get a lot of money into the Grange Hall.
I know,
Yeah, it's-
I
That's a money pit from.
question
but
why. God help me.
Historical building.
Oh, whoopee-doo. So was Templeton in and they tore that down?
Well, they need a place for a fire station. I just missed the old horse chestnut tree that used to be there. We used to
Yeah, I
rip them off
know.
and go to school and throw them at each other and stuff.
Everybody had a bracelet or necklace.
8,000 to be awarded North County Land Trust to improve the trails on the Dwelly Farm that was
Already
turned
accepted,
over to,
North County
yeah.
Land
How-
Trust.
At least
How-
it didn't turn
how much
into a housing project like Ryder Farm did,
Yeah,
and the
how-
Marina Farm.
Right,
Yeah, how much acreage?
I don't know.
I can't remember. We did that, we accepted that a couple of years ago.
I don't know.
It's a pretty good it's pretty sizable.
Hmm.
We could ask that question.
No, I'm just curious, it doesn't.
Right, well, no, I
Yeah.
mean, you know,
How many acres?
It's acceptable to ask.
They have it listed on the website.
Oh, they do? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go find it.
This is
No
the
need to ask.
website specialist over here.
Okay, no, I have no need.
We both look at it a lot. Thing is, he remembers what he sees, I don't. So Article 14, do we have any big concerns?
No, not
No.
really.
Other than this one-member committee, one
Right.
committee member having
Yeah.
way too much power.
I am the one who's in charge.
I was appointed and I'm in charge.
$14,099 is gonna go for lunch.
You're gonna,
Gotta love how
Liz,
things are done.
Dwelly Farm, you're gonna look on the acreage, you said?
No, yeah, I'm just curious.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Seeing how it's right at the bottom of the hill I'm on.
Yeah.
Must be pretty big.
Okay, 15. We may not have too much of a, well, yeah, we'll have a lively discussion on pre-town, but maybe we'll have a lot of our points ready. 19, Cable Department operating budget.
Did we ask for that budget? Mr. Chairman, we talked about that
What's that?
yesterday. We asked about that yesterday, about getting a copy of that. Did we ask for that yet, or?
Oh, think for that?
Yes.
Well, you don't think there was a one-day turnaround, do you?
Well, I was hoping.
Hey. If Steve was popped in, but can ask him, cause he's.
Yep.
He's on top of that.
Ken is pretty good about getting that out pretty quick.
So, just need a copy, of what's in that fund, that's what you want, correct? A copy of the budget. I find Steve's, Steve would probably know, I could email him, but, that's the only question, right? Just a copy of their
Yeah, just a
budget to
copy so we
see.
can see. I mean, if we're gonna vote on it, we might as well get to see what their budget looks like.
Yeah, I mean, you never know.
Do I anticipate any problems? No.
But that's all right. If you don't look, then you're gonna look like a dope if something comes up.
Cause Steve was actually trying to do a couple things and, the committee turned him down.
I just don't want it to be said that we passed an article for somebody's budget and never looked at it.
At
Yep.
that budget.
That's right.
Sewer department operating budget. $1,077,355.
Big money for not a lot. How many people are on
I just
sewer?
wanna, the only thing about this I'd like to make sure of is, it says, but I wanna make sure that those retained earnings have actually been certified before town meeting. I'll, either call or email, Kent. Or maybe I might even be able to drive down there. Let's see, what did they eventually stick in here for?
God bless you.
I'm telling you, this has been terrible. Oh, God, help me.
I don't know if it made it in here, no.
Not gonna blow my nose in front of everybody.
It's in here, I just don't know where they stuck it. get at from him.
Oh, cable TV is in here.
Yep.
Tab 6. I was looking for sewer, but I found cable. On page 298, there's cable. So we can cross that off.
I thought it's in there.
And sewer is right after cable.
Because there was a big discussion about it.
Page 298, I've got cable, and page 305 is sewer. So the face sheet has the breakdown of the accounts.
There's cable. See, the cable budget's in here.
Yeah,
And the sewer is right after that.
Yeah. Like I said, you need to just attend the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have a cold, I think it's allergies. So you're not gonna get sick. I start sneezing, I can't stop. I mean, nuts. What are you looking at?
We found the, cable budget starts on
Oh,
page
okay.
298, so we don't have to ask for a copy of that.
Okay.
And we don't have to ask for a copy of the sewer, that's page 305.
Yeah, and on 309 is the thing about, that was that thing that I was talking about
Yeah,
about the maintenance and, they had some issue,
The pump station went.
oh yeah, it was 125 and 25 was 150,000. And I think Kent had broken it down instead of, or one way or the other, selectmen either had added it together or. But I was there for that discussion on there.
You're lucky they got through that whole thing good shape, because they could've had a big problem. There's not that many sewer people for, that's a lot of money. That's for sure. Rolling right along.
So,
so how many sewer commissioners are there?
3.
Something I wanted to mention. They're talking about bringing stuff from the sewer department to town hall.
hold on. Article 17, okay, on Article 16, we have
Right.
the budget in here, right?
Right.
Yep.
Have you looked at it?
Yeah.
I have some notes in here someplace I can explain. Like I said, they had transposed some numbers. Well, when you broke it, they had it presented as like one number, like 75, and then he, on another sheet or column, he broke it into two numbers, and they were trying to find how'd you come up with this total, and then it was like, in the course of discussion, it took about 15 minutes.
Figure it out.
It was like, oh, the 50 and the 25 that's the
Yeah.
75, it was one of them numbers. So in Article 17 is deferred maintenance. And they want to take this out of the certified retained earnings as well. And all the biggest thing is that, I know it says it, I just wanna ensure that their retained earnings have been certified. Because if they haven't, that's like saying you wanna spend some free cash and you don't even have it yet, which will get you thrown out of a
We
meeting.
wouldn't do that.
Well, you question that, it'll get you thrown out of a selectmen's meeting,
Wow.
or it has in the past.
Mhm.
That is my question on that, is just to ensure that their retained earnings have been certified.
Yep.
Well, didn't they just finish their
So-
audit, or was that,
I think their audit is part of the town.
Yes, they are.
so wouldn't that have been certified then?
I'll have to see if it's in there.
Pretty sure it was like $700 and something thousand that was certified in the fall.
It was, yeah, back when they were waiting on,
Worcester.
thing, but,
Okay.
I just wanna add up the amounts and make sure
Sure.
that it's there. Bev, to your point, your question was what?
I forgot what I say. Um,
The thing about it, with regards to sewer, they are trying to get the sewer,
Oh, yeah.
Bill
I know what I wanted to
collections.
say. Who's gonna be the boss? The sewer commissioners run the sewer department. They're in charge of all of that. They bring them in here. Who do those people answer to? They're not,
No.
do they answer to the town
what they are
administrator?
planning, what the selectmen and the town administrator are pushing, is what was in the DOR financial review of the town. And
Oh, I
one of the
know, they talked about
suggestions,
that, but just the same.
the suggestion
bosses.
was, right now you have one person, it's like this at the light, the water department, and the sewer department. You have a person that creates the bills.
Yeah.
And also collecting the money.
Yeah.
There's a potential there for, you make a bill out,
Oh, yeah,
and you
fine.
say you
Yeah,
only
I know.
collected 50, but you send a bill out for 100.
Yeah, I understand. that.
So, and that's where this tax collector versus town collector comes in. They wanna try to have the sewer
I know.
bills
But
paid.
My question is, if they move them here,
They're not gonna move anybody.
no, all right,
They
but the
will
money's
create-
coming
The
here.
money will be paid at the collect, and it ends up here anyways, book-wise.
Roundabout way, yeah,
But that's
because you
That's
gotta,
the gist
you
of what
gotta-
they
you got
wanna
two
do.
bosses. Once something's in here, that's the only thing that I question,
well, it's, the bills will be paid here,
and,
instead of the money, being paid down there and the transfer and just.
when I was on the Board of Health, we never accepted cash, never. We got a check, we never took cash, people knew it walking in the door. So why anyone would accept cash is totally beyond me.
But anyways, that's the,
It shouldn't be.
That's the-
You're separating duties, it's a separation of duties
Yeah.
type thing.
See, you've got,
The,
still got two
yeah.
bosses.
I just think they should do the same for the light and water, cause that was in
Yeah.
the financial review too. It's
Right.
the same advice. You have the same person creating the bill and collecting it, and it's just a potential,
That's
you know.
right.
uh,
So if they're gonna move, they should move everything here, if that's what they're gonna do, make it even, Stephen, right across the
So,
line.
and that was that was when and we're getting off track again, but
I know, but-
when the auditor was doing the presentation, he asked the question, does the town have, because that came up, it was one of the deficiencies
Yep.
noted, about, talking about reconciling cash and checking departments randomly
Yep.
to see if like their small accounts,
Yep.
you took in 1,000, is it recorded on the books and stuff like that? And he asked the question, do you have a tax collector or a town collector? And the administrator said, we have a town collector.
No, we don't.
Well,
So,
I went looking for the records to see if we accepted the law with the subsection for a town collector, and I can't find it.
no, no.
Everything, even in here, they reference tax collector,
It's a tax collector. We
not
don't
a
have
town collector.
Right.
Well, it's
See, it would have to be.
basically
town.
the same position, but if you accept a section of the Mass General Law, and this is what I got from the Division of Local
Mhm.
Services, then the person is called a town collector. You still collect the property tax, everything. It just allows you as a
Collect
town collector
outside of
to
that.
collect the sewer things and potentially the light and water receipts. A tax collector technically can only collect
Tax.
real estate, personal property, motor vehicle excise, and
Dog.
betterments. They couldn't collect the sewer receipts, for instance. But if you say you got a town collector, it's the same certification and training and all that.
It's a
It's
different
just
law.
one Mass General Law, Chapter 41, one section, and you're a town collector. A different section is you're a tax collector. So I went back and tried to find, if we ever accepted that Mass General Law. When we went from an elected to an appointed tax collector, we accepted the Mass General Law 40, Chapter 41, the section
Whatever it
that
is.
deals with switching over. But I can't find so far, and I'll have to come into town hall and look for, either town meeting records or annual town report going way back, cause I went back to like 91, looking for, and I can't find it yet.
So that probably means we didn't do
Yeah.
that.
More than likely.
So
Yeah.
anyways, but,
But anyway, any discussion we have is for people that are new to town and they have questions. So if we discuss something that's a little offbeat, it's gonna give you more information, so it's really not gonna hurt.
Except the beavers and the dogs.
so,
Except for the, well, sorry about that.
all right,
It's a town.
I
What do you
had, for Article 18, if we want to stop now, that's fine, but I just wanted to, if this has been vetted by town council, because what establishes the sewer fund is a different Mass General Law, Chapter 4453 F and a half. It's an enterprise fund,
but
which allows them to operate separately,
accounting wise.
accounting wise, okay? But now you're going to put another, is Chapter 40, Section 50B in conflict with Chapter 44, Section 53 F and a half?
And if we
That's
had our
my question.
codification done,
Well, it's not a bylaw, so it's not a codification issue, but,
It's more of a, are they exclusive or can they work together?
I'll probably stop down there and see what he's
yeah,
talking
I'm tired,
about
I
this.
worked all day.
And did the sewer commissioners put this forward, or was it put forward by the selectmen?
Well, it says for the,
Well,
The sewer-
I would
I
like
know.
to know who put this
Yeah.
forward. Is this an article that the
Uh,
sewer commissioners voted on and put forward, or is this an article that the selectmen put forward?
I understand
so,
the problem with
you
this
wanna
one.
stop at 18 for
Yeah.
the night? Okay. Very good. I don't think anyone has any. There are committee comments, so, let's see, last night started there, this time we'll start down this end. You have any, Will?
Yes, I do. I just, I was just thinking about this today. We generally don't have too many people come to pre-town meeting. Maybe we should end up offering free beer and wine, just so I can see if we get some people to come.
We should probably hold it at JK Crossroads.
I mean,
Agricultural committee.
the attendance is
It starts at 7 o'clock, at 7:15, we'll make a motion
Adjourn.
to recess and go down to JK's.
The
Open on
attendance,
Wednesdays.
basically for pre-town, has really been, in the last 6 years, has been
Terrible.
terrible. And especially the last couple of years, it's been even less than it was when I first got on. And that's a concern to me, because to me, this is where people should find out what the questions are, what we have gone through, and without that additional information, I don't think people can vote with the correct information and make a good decision.
No. I think you can't.
I mean, we look into,
Hold on.
we look into these things to take and end up getting the information so we can make good decisions. I think, once we make that decision, people should be aware of, we make that decision, and there's a particular reason why we made that decision, because we did the research, and that's kind of my comment. I'm just kind of venting here, is that we just don't get enough participation in town government, and this is not the only town that has that issue.
Bob, you have anything?
The only thing I'd like to say is, as far as I know at this point, we still have 20-something open board and committee positions in town, and if anybody out there has time, willingness, sign up, the town could use the help. Thank you.
I have a question based on that, just what Bob said. Do we have an opening, on this committee?
No. It's a 7-member committee, we have 7 members.
I
Well,
understand
we
that,
have
but
7 people at the table, maybe somebody here is
On the
an
website-
infiltrator.
in the website, it shows advisory committee as
Has
having
openings.
openings, and it also says that the Board of Selectmen appoint.
Since when?
Well,
So there's
Hold
still
on.
errors
Not
on the,
yet.
all right, but
We,
We're going from
all right.
left to right. Julie? You have anything?
Vote early, vote often?
Okay.
vote Bennett.
Easy. Bev?
I want people to understand that this is their meeting. It is your right to speak and ask questions, and you have to take part in your government, especially the new people in town, the younger people. You know, it's too important to blow off. It affects your pocketbook, not for just a year. It'll affect, some of these questions will affect your pocketbook for many years. And you can't wait till you get a tax bill and go like, oh my God, why didn't I go? Go. If you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask, because it is acceptable to ask. That's how you learn, and it is your town, it is your government, and we can't do this alone. Simple as that.
Paul?
Nothing.
What's that? Liz?
go vote. Just vote. Consider everybody, consider what you're doing, and just vote. That's about it.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Anybody want to stay longer? Go get drinks? Hearing none. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 Opposed? Meeting adjourned.